Welcome everybody on this lesson on how to restart the stall count. So let's start with an easy case. If there is a contested stall out, you restart at stalling 8. So what you do is you do the check and then you say stalling 8, 9, 10. Alright, next case, an accepted breach by the defense. So in this case, you restart at stalling 1. So you do the check and say stalling 1, 2, 3, and so on. That makes sense because the defense is punished for the breach, whether it be a foul or a violation, and it gives more time to the offense. So up to now, we've seen rules where it says start at stalling 1 or stalling 8, but sometimes in the rules, it just says restart the stall count. What this means is that you do the check and then say stalling x plus 1, where x was the last number fully uttered before the call. So for example, if I said stalling 1, 2, and then there is a stoppage before I can fully utter the next number, then I do the check and say stalling 3, 4, and so on. When restarting the stall counts, many times the rules say that a maximum applies, depending on the situations. So first situation, an accepted offensive breach. So in this case, you restart the stall count with a maximum of 9. That makes sense because if the last number that you said was 9, then restarting without this would make that you would do the check-in and say stalling 10, which would be an immediate stall out because as soon as you start saying 10, it's a stall out. So they say that it's maximum 9, so the maximum you could ever restart is 9. In all other cases, when you restart, there is a maximum of 6. And this applies to many situations. Contested calls and picks, they happen very often. There's also injury, technical, sideline obstruction violation, and so on. And the logic behind this is that when you are making a contested call, sometimes it's because the situation isn't clear, and so you want to have an intermediate solution. So if the stall was 7, and there is a major contact between the thrower and the mark, and so then the thrower calls a foul, but the defense contests it, well, it doesn't go all the way back to stalling 1, nor does it continue at stalling 8. You do a maximum of 6, so you would restart at stalling 6. The next case that we look at is the retracted call, and it's easy. Just remember that retracting a call is the exact same equivalent as accepting a breach, so that the player who has stopped the play incorrectly is punished. So for example, if the defense calls a pick, but then retracts the call because they admit or figure out that yes, indeed, there was more than 3 meters, it was not really a pick, then the defense is punished and it goes all the way back to stalling 1. Next are timeouts. So after a timeout, you just restart the stall count with a maximum of 9 for the same reason as the offensive breach. But there is a special case. If there is an invalid timeout called because you have already used all of your timeouts, then it adds +2 to the stall count that would have been. And if by adding +2 you reach the number 10, well, it's an instant turnover. You don't even do the check. So for example, if the last number fully uttered was 7, and then there is a timeout called incorrectly, normally you would restart at stalling 8, but you add +2, so that makes 10, so it's an immediate turnover. Lastly, I would like to emphasize how we can improve communication with the other team. So I encourage not to say something like coming in at 0, but always use coming in at stalling 1, or don't say restart at 6, but rather restart at stalling 6, because when saying restart at 6, you're not sure, is 6 the last number fully uttered, and so you will restart at 6 plus 1, you will say stalling 7. So to avoid the confusion, just always say restart at stalling x. And that's it for today's lesson. Thank you for listening.